Hi, I'm Chris Sachs. I'm the Vice President of Client Success for SEoClarity. And today I'm super fortunate to be talking to an SEO who's been around the block. I've known him since, I think, 2013, 2014. And I'm really excited to introduce Nakul Goyal. Nakul, welcome.
Chris, thank you very much. Again, I've known you for a long time, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to speaking to you and our SEO fellows.
Yeah, awesome. I got some great questions lined up for you. But I guess before we get started, maybe you just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. I'm your average Joe. I've been doing SEO, growth marketing for over 20 years. This is the funny thing is this is the only thing I've done all my life. I was
Mm.
thinking about it. If Google or SEO didn't exist, what I'd be doing, and I have no idea. Um, but I've been doing SEO for a long time, Chris, and I've spent and had explosive growth at some great brands in the last couple of years, particularly Oriental Trading Company, which is owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway.
Hmm.
Then, me and my team were responsible for some great growth at TripAdvisor's 55 sites in 30 different languages. That
Mm.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And last but not the least, where I'm today at CarFax, which is, been quote unquote doing wonders, but I can't talk about it because it's part of a publicly listed company.
Yeah. You definitely have worked for some amazing brands, and it's interesting because you've been a part of multiple industries, multiple verticals, which being working in those big companies as an SEO, I'm sure you've learned a lot. And I know just from working with you and seeing what you've accomplished, you have done some big things in those enterprises. I know you're thought of in a lot of circles as really being a thought leader about SEO, but you had to get started somewhere. So maybe you could tell us just how you got started in this SEO thing.
Oh my God, you'll have to time me for that, Chris. You don't want me to go on a tangent here, but it's been a really interesting journey. So 20 plus years ago, I passed out of grad school or undergrad actually,
Mm.
and decided to start my own business, a web design consulting firm back home in India. And that was not fun. The reason it was not fun was you build somebody's website and then you move on to the next project.
Mm.
It's just not exciting. I stumbled upon back in the day search engine submission in the altavista.com days, where you would quote unquote submit a URL to Alta Vista. It'll get crawled and indexed, and then they'll drive traffic to that in business's website. So that principle of having an impact on a business
Mm.
has stuck with me, which is where I picked on SEO, actually grasped SEO and never let it go. And after that, I spent a couple of years. We focused our agency on SEO only. Then I decided to move to the U.S. Was working for a boutique consulting company that only did SEO for some great brands like Staples and a couple of others.
Mm.
And there I was the head of SEO practice, and we were able to grow our business, probably 8 to 10 fold in less than 2 years because of the demand and the growth of SEO. I think every agency was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So we were really, really successful, but there was an opportunity for me to be on the other side, and that was the in-house side.
Mm.
And that's when I moved in-house. And in-house, there's, depending on the nature of the company, the nature of the industry, as you said, different verticals, you can learn so much by being inside a company than outside. Once I went in-house, there was no looking back.
Mm.
And since then, I've been an in-house marketer, just learning and growing and having an impact on the business I work for. It's just I'm having a lot of fun, and it's just, I don't see it changing anytime soon.
That's awesome. I've always had this rule that if you've been doing SEO for 2 years, you could really be considered a veteran. So if you're talking about Alta Vista, then we have to put you in like the SEO pioneer status level, beyond the veteran if you've been doing it that long. So, but that's awesome, and it's great to see any SEO go from agency to in-house. It really broadens your skill set and helps you understand a lot, to be able to accomplish a lot. So that's great.
Shows my age, doesn't it?
Not at all. I mean, you don't look much past 25, so
I'll tell my
uh,
wife that.
great. So just I want to keep going with that a little bit too, and I writing with having some real achievements and some wins in the past. I'd be interested in hearing maybe what would you crown or what would you say has been one of your bigger achievements in SEO?
Mm. So to be honest, I think my great accomplishments, my team's accomplishments are more in the last couple of years at my current employer, but I won't get into the details of that as promised.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you about one of my previous employers, and this is several years ago. We had an opportunity to solve, Chris, a customer's problem, a consumer problem that we thought or saw that we could solve with building a product for search. When I built a little one pager and went to my VP for his blessings, he was reluctant. He was not excited about that opportunity. He didn't see that this would actually have an impact. He
Yeah.
considered, or he thought, probably rightfully, that it could cannibalize our traffic, and it would just be a shift from one product to another. Uh, However, let's just say I arm wrestled and convinced him to allow me to test. And it's like, hey, I don't have the data. I have some data, but it's really just a concept. I dreamt or made up the numbers. I'm biased, so I could be totally wrong. So allow me to test it. He fortunately blessed it, allowed me to test it in a very, very compact, low level of effort, low fidelity, initiative. We launched it in less than 30 days, and I won't get into the details of what it was, but I keep track of that product. That product has continued to grow over this last several years, and it has done over $100 million in revenue, incremental revenue for that business. So it's really, really exciting. Again, the story here is, hey, you may not believe in it, and in whatever that initiative might be, but
Hmm.
let America vote, let the world vote, let the test tell you the results that will it work or not, because we might be biased around a certain particular initiative
Yeah.
and say, hey, this will work or this will not work based on what we think we have experienced in our past lives. But that may totally be wrong
Yeah.
based on the industry, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that was a really good lesson. And let's just say my VP was very happy, has been happy, and we stay in touch. And it's exciting to see that product out there on the web.
I love when SEOs tell me they test. It's like music to my ears, because I feel like the strongest companies that lead in their vertical, in their industry when it comes to SEO, are really great at testing. And you also highlighted a really interesting other challenge I think a lot of enterprise SEOs face, which is that executive buy-in, right? So you use the right term. Let me test, right? We won't go all in. Let me test. Would you say that using that and leveraging being good at testing has helped you with that executive buy-in, or
Oh,
is it
big
well?
time, big time,
Yeah,
big time.
yeah, yeah. That's great, and that's sound advice I think for anybody, especially getting started in SEO. Be really good at testing and understanding how to get executive buy-in. That's awesome. So working now, you had a little taste of the agency side, then you moved all in on in-house SEO. Worked for some amazing companies, still doing it today. What would you say if you were to tell other SEOs that are either getting started in in-house SEO, working at a big company? What would you highlight as maybe one of the bigger challenges that they might face just being that in-house SEO enterprise?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny. It's going to be funny when I mention this, Chris. When I talk to SEO practitioners in different industries, and I'm sure you'll affirm to that, is people often complain about, hey, I don't have enough resources.
Mm.
So I'm gonna really take that resource challenge that, trust me, it exists all over the web. Nobody, whether you go to the product team, the A/B testing, conversion optimization team, which we like to call the money team, or the SEO team, nobody's saying I have infinite resources.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does. We
Right.
don't have infinite money. Everything is finite in this world that we live in, quote unquote, right? So I think what I would say, Chris, to that question is, when I look at companies who do SEO really, really well,
Mm-hmm.
they, like when I look at Oriental Trading Company, when I look at TripAdvisor, or where I am today, and other clients that I've had over the years that I do advice, etc., what I've seen is the placement of the SEO champion or champions within the organization. If you bury SEO somewhere within e-commerce merchandising, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be a merchandising function. No offense to merchandising. Merchandising is great.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you elevate it to that role, in the organization that it has quote unquote senior leadership team exposure, which I had at Oriental Trading Company. I didn't get it. I had to earn it, right? You don't get it. You have to earn it. So there's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing there. Same thing at TripAdvisor, wildly successful, world-class team, but they get the importance of SEO and they position SEO within the organization at the right place, at the right level. And I'm not talking about titles, etc. It's access to the senior leadership team. Because you need you and I were chatting in our previous conversation, executive buy-in. How are you supposed to get the executive buy-in? Now, once you get the executive buy-in, the key, quote unquote, the resources, then you have to have a really clear SEO playbook, which in my opinion consists of three things. I'm going to use the three T's. Okay. One is team. So making sure that you have a world-class SEO team that is passionate about SEO. It's not about they read the webmaster guidelines, they did a course on SEO, they have a certification. No, it's about passion, right? So somebody who's really passionate, really competitive, really hungry to have an impact. Two is the tools. So ensuring that they have access to the right tools. I'm going to give you a plug to seoClarity, whether it's seoClarity or the several dozens of tools that are out there, whether in-house, homegrown, or off-the-shelf tools. You got to have access to the tools to do your job effectively. And last is having a really clear SEO testing methodology and making sure that you are data-driven, you test everything, and you let the test results speak for themselves. If you do that, then you can continue to earn the trust. So when I look at my current employer or any of my previous employers, I've never had a resource issue, right? And that's partly because I promised them something and then I delivered on that promise. Right. It's a circle, right? It's a feedback loop. You promise something, you deliver it, you get it again, and then you keep doing it.
I love that. I love the three T's. I think that's really good. And knowing you, Nakul, for as long as I have, I would add one more T. I'd give a fourth T, which is tenacity. And I think having that, and you've displayed that just in being able to convince and persuade and evangelize, you have to stick to it. But I love that. I love when there's formulas, right? I love acronyms. I love all of that. That's excellent. Great answer. Okay, so I have one more, maybe a compound question for you here. But I think, in SEO, it's ever changing. There's a lot of reasons why people start and get into SEO, and there's a lot of reasons why they continue doing it. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit about what excites you today about SEO.
So I think as you can tell, Chris, I'm very, very results driven. And to me, the one thing that excites me about SEO is having hockey stick impact. And what I've noticed over the years at companies, that people who work on that product, that initiative, sometimes don't fully understand what the ceiling is, what the opportunity is. And I've been fortunate to be at the right place at the right time, and be given the opportunity to break that ceiling. We break on that ceiling repeatedly, and I think that's one thing, like being impact driven and being not being crazy. It's like, for example, if I start nakulsblog.com and say, hey, I'm going to have 1 million UVs a month through SEO, that's not going to happen. That's unrealistic. However, if you understand your industry really, really well, and you see, hey, what can we really grow? A lot of companies are normally, quote unquote, okay with, 5 and 10% growth year over year. And don't get me wrong, 5 or 10% growth is awesome, right? But I like that growth. But if there's money on the table, I hate leaving it on the table, right? Our job is to go capture that. So if you don't know how much money is on the table, how do you know when you capture the 10% that's enough, that you got, quote unquote, all of it or most of it, right? So to me, having hockey stick growth, capturing, the real estate that is out there for you to capture and really earn it by building a great product that consumers love and trust, I think is just very, very exciting. I drive my kick from it every single day. That's what stops me from going to sleep every night. And that's what wakes me up every morning.
Yeah. It's
the impact.
Fuel. It's the fuel. Yeah, I love it. That's great. So something's got to frustrate you. Sometimes I've played psychologist in the past, and I've talked to people, just tell me, give it all to me, right? There are things that keep us up at night that aren't as exciting either. So maybe tell us a little bit about enterprise SEO in general, the Google, what frustrates you?
Yeah, so believe it or not, Chris, I do not have a frustration that comes to mind, because guess what? If I was frustrated with something, I would have changed my career and started being a